your mind.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. We have myself, Alan James.
Ah, myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening, lastminute.com again. Technical issues. Technical issues and everything else that goes with it. Anyway, good evening. And we'd like to say that this is show number 400. So we've actually done 400 shows in the bag over the last near enough 8 years, coming up to 8 years now in July. On OYM, so there you go. That's some achievement. 400 shows. So a lot of things to listen to. A lot of guests to listen to. Some guests pass on. Unfortunately, they've moved on to a better spiritual life. But there you go. 8 years, coming up to 8 years, 400 shows. Anyway, we've the guest that we have on the show. The plan of attack was to have Harry on and talk about the cloud busting, all that kind of stuff, all the Wilhelm Reich technology, and after that we've asked Walter Graham to come on and do the second half of the show. But the way things have turned out was that Harry's having a few technical problems his end, so we've asked Walter to come on to do the first half of the show, and then we get Harry on. Fingers crossed, if he's technically okay, we'll get him on at around 8 o'clock or so, and we'll bring Harry on then, have a chat with Harry then. So that's the plan of attack. So we have a few things to talk about, obviously, first, before we get Walter on. But before we do that, let's find out what the communication channels are.
Okay, communication channels for the show this evening.
The communication channels are female, info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Thank you, Mary. Yes, the OYM chat room can be found at oymradio.com. You will see the links on the left-hand side for the chat room. A big hi to everyone who's already logged into the chat room. Unfortunately, it is a closed chat room, so if you're listening to the show for the first time and you want to join the chat, you will need to register for a username and password for the chat room. And unfortunately, it's too late to do that at the moment. It needs to be done at least 1 hour before the show. But a big hi to everyone already in the chat room. You're all most very welcome. And also People's Internet Radio as well. We're streaming there, so I'm monitoring both of the chat rooms for questions this evening. We also have on our own website there, we have the links for the YouTube, for the email, Skype, anti-social media, Facebook, and also tweeting on Twitter. And as we often say in relation to the email, it is info@oymradio.com, and we do appreciate any emails that we do get. And we got a few actually during the week, so thanks to everyone who took the time to write, just for saying hi and let us know where you're listening from. We also have other links there on the website as well. Loads of great information, plus the links for the TuneIn Radio application, which is a free app you can download, stick it on your smartphone or your iPhone, and you can listen to us all day, every day.
Brilliant. All right, Steve, cheers. Right, let's crack on with a few bits of information that's been out in the press, out on the internet there over the last few weeks. According to the bleepingcomputer.com, top security execs at Google, Facebook and Twitter announced departures. In the span of 3 days, news broke that high-ranking security executives at three of the internet's most important tech firms, Google, Facebook and Twitter, announced plans to leave their respective companies. News of the first departure broke 2 days ago when the New York Times reported that Alex Stamos, the Chief Security Officer, CSO at Facebook, had clashed with the company's leadership over Russian manipulation efforts on the platform and had decided to leave the company. Facebook CSO to leave in August. The report said Stamos would leave Facebook in August. Stamos didn't deny his departure but admitted that his role at the company had changed. High-ranking security exec leave Google. News about Stamos' desire to depart Facebook appears to have triggered similar announcements from two other executives in Google. Twitter CISO leaving company as well. A day later, Michael Kotas, the Chief Information and Security Officer ICSO at Twitter, made a similar announcement. Now, we have heard of, obviously people listen into Thomas's show and Thomas's Intel, and he's mentioned that there's a lot of people taking a back seat or leaving their jobs for whatever reason, inverted commas, whatever that reason may be. And a lot of people are standing down and stepping back and moving away from these corporate companies and politics as well. So maybe this is part and parcel of what's happening in the actual the whole clean-up of the system, is that certain people are backing off and stepping down. And if that is the case, that's kind of pretty much good news, if that's the case. We still have issues, obviously, with these companies, being that Google wants to know everything, and so does Facebook, and I suppose Twitter be on the same scale as them two, wanting to find out information about everything, and then blocking people that are trying to put the real news out there, which seems to be going on as well. But there you go. That's just that's the news with that anyway. But we'll keep an eye out if there's any more redundancies or any more people deciding to leave from high-ranking positions. We'll try and keep you abreast of that. Steve.
Yeah, so basically, adult-only games are okay, it says here, but you can't tell Cortana to go on itself. That's by Simon Sherwood. That's from the 28th of March. It says, no swearing. What the... Microsoft have advised users of upcoming changes to its services terms of use agreement that will make it a potentially account-closing offence to use offensive language on Skype or in a Word document. Yeah, the tweaked agreement, which comes into effect on May the 1st, 2018, includes the following new code of conduct item. It says, don't publicly display or use the services to share inappropriate content or material involving, for example, nudity, bestiality, pornography, offensive language, graphic violence, or criminal activity. And if you disobey, well, if you violate the terms, we may stop providing services to you, or we may close your Microsoft account. We may also block delivery of a communication like email, file sharing, or instant messaging to or from the services in an effort to enforce these terms. Or we may remove or refuse to publish your content for any reason. When investigating alleged violations of these terms, Microsoft reserves the right to review your content in order to resolve the issue. However, we cannot monitor the entire services and make no attempt to do so. Microsoft lists its online services covered by the agreement here. So to save you time, we'll give them to you. It is Skype, Windows Live Mail, Office 365, Bing, and Cortana. So there we go. Big Brother's at it again.
Now, the thing is, do they not realise that there are other software companies out there that provide the same service they do?
Yes, I'm sure they do. And we can say what we like there.
That's what I mean. That's the level of arrogance that they have such a dominant market that they think that, well, if we do that, then people will be stuffed and they won't be able to use anything else.
They think they're too big.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there's other packages out there that are open source and free that you can download and use as well. Now, obviously, that would mean that the people that you're speaking to would probably have to use the same, or else they'd have to have a landline or mobile. But it's not going to be that much of an inconvenience, to be honest with you. So
bring back CB radio, that's what I say.
That's what I say, yeah, definitely bring it back. How's your week?
Yeah, my week's fine. Very busy week, very busy. I just have one thing that I want to touch base on, and I printed it out. I got ink for the printer.
Right,
and
okay.
I have to say, and this really, really, really galls me, is when you go to buy ink for your printer, and you can buy a new printer with ink for less than the price of the ink. It's nonsensical. I've got a collection of printers at home. But anyway, my father sent me a link during the week to this article that was on the RTE News website. And it goes a little like this. The Dáil hears that current levels of TV licence evasion is unacceptable. I'm not going to read the whole article, but I'm just going to glaze over it. But it says the Minister for Communications has said that public service broadcasting is in deep trouble because of unsustainable revenues. He said current levels of TV licence evasion at 14.6% was unacceptable. This represents an annual loss of about 40 million to public service broadcasting, i.e. RTE, the state broadcaster. So effectively everyone who pays their TV licence pays an extra €39 to cover the cost of someone who won't pay, he said. It goes on where they are talking about getting this whole, the TV licence fee collected by revenue at source out of your wages. So therefore, you won't even have to have someone knocking on your door. Of course, this comes a week after they've already ran an advert on RTE TV saying that they had employed, thousands more inspectors to come knocking on your door. Anyway, Mr. Norton said he believed the priority focus should be on reforming the current model. And anyone who's kind of keeping abreast of this does know that we do have a TV licence here, and similar to the one in the UK. But in the UK, it goes to the BBC because there's no advertising, so that's their main source of revenue. But over here, RTE, they're getting subsidised by the people. But Mr. Norton is saying it's not a tax. It's not a tax, but everybody has to pay it. And it's going to be morphed from a TV licence into a broadcasting charge. So even if you don't have internet access, if you don't have a mobile phone, if you don't have a TV, if you don't have a subscription to Sky or UPC or Virgin, then you're still going to pay it. Sounds like a tax, smells like a tax. Anyway.
So they're forcing people to have a TV license even if you don't want to watch the TV show?
Yes.
Right. So you could have a Freeview box and you just watch Sky, which doesn't include RTE because the Freeview box doesn't have RTE on it. But yet they're forcing you to still have a license.
Well, because they're still saying that RTE are providing, and I think that it's in this article here somewhere, but RTE are providing quality content.
Okay, that's an opinion, obviously.
By RTE.
It's not a fact.
It's not a fact.
It's an opinion.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
And as we've said before, if RTE, if they think they're providing such a quality service, do what Sky have done. Go subscription.
Yeah. Go subscription.
Offer a box and go subscription and see how many people uptake.
Put your money where your mouth is. Go and get advertising in. Get companies to advertise on your radio show, on your TV show. There you go. That'll pay for you. Why do you have to force people into a TV license? That's because they know that if people didn't have to pay a TV license, they wouldn't get the viewers. It's that simple. That survey that they did in Dublin, where 95% of the people or 92% of the people said, no, actually, I'd rather not pay the TV licence and I wouldn't miss RTE at all. The only one guy said, oh, well, I'd miss the Angeles at 6 o'clock,
Yeah, well, someone could happly stand outside his house and bang a pot at 6 o'clock.
Ring his bell.
Ring his
bell.
Yeah.
But, the majority of people said, yeah, they wouldn't miss RTE. Simple as that. Because there's so many channels to choose from anyway.
But then again, it's not just funding, or it's not just to fund RTE. Well, it is just to fund RTE, but it's not just about watching the content on RTE. Again, like this is kind of, it's a hot topic now. Again, it's starting off again. But they're saying even if you own a TV, and that's the way the law is. Well, sorry, it's not the law; it's an act. Even if you own a TV, then you're required to have one of these, according to this act. And obviously, once it changes to the broadcasting charge, well, then it won't matter whether you own a TV or not. Even if you don't own a TV, they'll assume that you have a mobile device or a PC or a laptop or whatever. So the service will be there. Even if you don't watch it, it'll still be there. It's provided for you. And again, like they're saying it's not an extra tax, but by all you look it up and look what it's going to be and how they're going to collect it through revenue, it smells like a tax, It also says that facing court to failure to pay the licences was staggering at 11,693, with 400 facing prison sentences. Seriously, prison sentences for not having a license to have a. When you go and you buy a TV, you're paying a VAT on the TV, and then if you subscribe to Sky, you're paying Sky, or well, some people are. I know we don't, but you're paying all that, and then they say to you, well, you have to pay. What did they say? It works out at €4 per week. I think it's 170 or something. Euro per year. But yeah, see, there's 11,693 with 400 of them facing prison sentences for not having a licence. Minister Norton praised the work of the government and said the government would move forward with the issues raised. The public service broadcasters play an important role. Now listen to this. The public service broadcasters, RTE, mouthpiece for the government, play an important role in our democratic society. It is essential that they receive adequate and stable funding to ensure the continued delivery of their role and the ability to meet their remit set out in legislation, he said. So in other words, they want us to pay for our own propaganda station to, transmit propaganda.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that will all have to change anyway.
It's back in the news again anyway. It rears its head every now and again. Pat Rabbit tried to introduce this broadcast in charge. I think he's gone now anyway. But yeah, it's rearing its head again. So if anyone has any thoughts, if you don't want to put them in the chat room, if you have any information or thoughts, or what's the situation in your country wherever you're listening, is there a broadcasting charge? Is there a TV license over wherever you are? If so, just drop us a line. Let us know. But yeah, it's raising its head again. So let's get as much information as we can, and we'll fight the good fight once again.
We will.
There we go. Right, done and dusted. How's your week?
Okay, before I bring Walter in, just a quick mention from one of our listeners. JJ sent in an article there. A document about the special notice 50,000 plus circuit court possession actions have been commenced in Ireland, lacking lawful required circuit court commencement jurisdiction. So 50,000 plus repossessions have started over here in Ireland. And as I mentioned there, I was there not last week, but the week before. I was down in Trim Court. And, I don't know, what can we do about it? I mean, everybody knows about it, repossessions are taking place. And some people have the belief that, they should pay their mortgage. Well, if you lose your job, then you can't pay your mortgage and pay what you can afford. And these people are having the houses taken off them, and they were being strip mined by the vulture funds. And because obviously the banks need the liquidity, they need the assets as well. And this is what Kim and Thomas, who were on the show, they agreed. They said this is what's going on. So what do we do? What do we do? Do we just sit back and let it happen, or do we do something about it? I don't know. Answers on a postcard as to what we can do. Back in the late 1800s, we had Michael Davitt, and we had the English landlords turfing out the Irish people from the homes. I mean, what has changed? In 100 and odd years, we're still doing the same thing, except the now vulture funds. But it's still happening. But we had the protest for the water meters, which, even though we had 120,000 people out on the streets about the water meters, they're still putting them in. Believe it or not.
Well, I still haven't got mine. I know you still haven't got yours.
But in social housing, they're putting in water meters to actually, and so the water you use, it's just, where does it stop? Where do we stop all this? This is just ridiculous. It's getting beyond the joke now. So something has to be done, but look, answers on the postcard, I don't know what. Right, we're going to bring our guest in. Walter's a good friend of OYM's. Walter's been on show a couple of times, and last time we had Walter on, we had emails from listeners said, get Walter on again, because he's talking sense, and he has some great information there, and we were talking about the legal side of things the last time, and I'd like to pick up on that chat with Walter and get into some of the legal stuff that he was familiar with regarding the dangers of the technology, and asking for certain documentation to prove what they're saying is right. But one of the things I think Walter said last time was that some of the schools were just making assumptions that they were in the right, or they were also doing their own insurance, I believe, which I think I can't do my own insurance, and Steve, you can't do your own insurance. I don't see why schools can do their own insurance. Well, let's find out. Let's talk more about this. Good evening, Walter. How are you doing?
How are you doing?
Thanks for coming on, Walter. I know it was a bit mad panic. It was definitely lastminute.com before the show, so much appreciated that you could jump on early before your allotted slot, 8 o'clock, and come on, because Harry was having problems down his end. But thanks for coming on, and I'd like to pick up where we left off last time when you were on, and we were talking about the whole insurance thing, and that schools were actually doing their own insurance, or writing their own insurance policies, and well, we can't do that. Why can they do that? And this is what's been going on. Do you want to give a recap just for the people that didn't hear it the last time?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you how this all came about. There was a family here in Northern Ireland who started questioning the effects that Wi-Fi was having on their children. So they went to the principal and they said, look, we think the Wi-Fi that you have on the school is affecting our kids' health. They were displaying behavioral problems. They were getting headaches, things like this, and skin rashes. So they offered to pay for hardwiring the school to do away with the risks from the Wi-Fi units. The principal refused. So they then gave her all the scientific studies that showed that Wi-Fi is harmful, and they pushed for it. She still refused. They asked for the Wi-Fi to be turned off when it's not in use. She refused that too. So anyway, they pushed on and they started asking questions. They started asking for documentation of why this is safe, where she got this story from, and so on. Well, it all ended up coming down to that there is no insurance company that will insure against wireless technology causing harm. So if you get hurt by Wi-Fi or 5G or any of this stuff, there's no insurance company in the world that's covering it. So the schools then, therefore, couldn't have coverage. So we started asking for the risk assessments. You see, all the schools are required by law under DENI regulations, that's Northern Ireland's Department of the Environment. They're required by law to supply risk assessments. So they have to get risk assessments done on any new technology comes into the school. They have them for asbestos. They have them for all kinds of other things. But they don't have any for Wi-Fi. We asked, they don't have them. It took us about, a number of months to beat that out of them, but they don't have any. So then we started asking for the insurance, because none of the insurance underwriters will carry this or cover it. They said that they were self-insuring. So we then asked, okay, if you're self-insuring, you must have a booklet or pamphlets or something that outlines how you're covered, how much you're covered for. Should you, let's say a class load of kids all get cancer at the same time, or brain tumors or something, how much are they covered for? Because this could break the school system. This could break the bank, literally, if they all start suing. So there must be a catalog of how much you're covered for. Believe it or not, they said they don't have anything in writing at all. Nothing. So as far as I know, they just made that whole thing up.
So can I jump in there, Walter?
Sure.
This actually applies to private companies as well.
Oh, absolutely.
They all need a health and safety risk assessment on the technology, and I bet that if you ask your company that you worked for, what is the risk assessment or where's the risk assessment done on the dangers of Wi-Fi, they probably will say we don't have one.
They don't have one. The husband of this couple, he also is starting to be sensitive to this. So he's picking it up on his skin. He gets headaches and so on. So he went to the owners of the company, and it's a large company. He went to the owners of the company and he said, look, I'm feeling this. Could you turn this off? Could you just everybody plug their computer in? I mean, it's doable. We have a hardwired system. They refused. So he then asked for the risk assessments. Oh, man, that put the cat among the pigeons because, of course, they don't have any. No company has been doing this. They're all assuming that it's safe because the government must have done this, risk assessments, and they haven't. None of this equipment has ever been tested for safety by the manufacturers or the government. So now we're being exposed to all this stuff in schools now, children being exposed. And can you imagine when you've got, say, 6 classrooms and they're all doing a test or they're all doing, work? That's 30 kids times 6, times, at least 6 routers. Some classrooms even have a number of routers. So, they're really being saturated. This is huge what's going on because now you've got every laptop pumping out these signals. You've got the router pumping it back again, transmitting out to a mast. And that's aside from whiteboards and some of the other equipment that they have that's also wireless. So you've got a lot of equipment going on in the school now that wasn't there 10 years ago. So kids are being exposed. And there's a precautionary principle of medicine which says if there's any risk at all, you should err on the side of safety and not do it. And yet they're going against this. But up until now, everybody thought that there was insurance coverage and that the school would be insured. But no, the school has no insurance. And our schools here in Northern Ireland have been telling the parents that the education authorities are self-insuring, but they have no documentation on it. Nothing. It's a fraud. It's an absolute fraud. But their insurance was taken away from the schools here in 2015, I think, because they couldn't cover the Wi-Fi. They won't cover the Wi-Fi. And the reason they won't cover it is because when they've done their own looking at the research, they know this is going to hurt people. It's bound to cause cancer. I mean, they lied to us about asbestos. They've lied to us about BSC turning into CJD. They've lied to us about tobacco. We could go on. The blood scandal. There's no end to things the government have been covering up for industry.
And of course, what we've said before is that Lloyd's of London is one of the biggest insurers, and they insure everything except Wi-Fi, except mobile phone technology and Wi-Fi,
right.
Because obviously they know that it's dangerous.
Oh, they know it's going to cause cancer and hurt people. There's no doubt of that. Otherwise, what else? I mean, they insure your car. The most dangerous thing you could do is get into your car, and yet they insure you for that. Yeah. But they won't insure you for your laptop, or you're putting on a kid in the classroom. What is this?
Yeah,
super dangerous.
And of course, kids have laptops and tablets on their lap, and they could be making themselves sterile because of the Wi-Fi signals from the actual laptop and tablets. And I kind of shake my head when I hear about kids getting presents and tablets and laptops, but they're using Wi-Fi to connect, and they have it on their lap. And we had Barry Trower on the show before, and Barry told us the next generation of females was 54% of them will be sterile. Because of the technology. And God knows what the young lads are going to be like. Steve, you have a comment there you want to make to Walter?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I was actually watching this, speaking of Barry, I was watching a YouTube video yesterday of Barry Trower, and I think it was like, it's supposed to be a new video, but it was kind of an old video kind of rehashed, is basically what it was. And he was talking about the dangers again of Wi-Fi, and obviously the same as you, Walter, Barry and you speak it and you put it out there in layman's terms so everybody can understand it. You don't mince your words, and I think a lot of people respect that. But some of the comments on Barry's video, they were saying, yeah, this guy is a nut job, and he worked for the government and all this sort of carry on. But then they were saying, yeah, but what he's talking about is microwave warfare, and it's a focused beam, and that Wi-Fi is omnidirectional, and therefore it's not focused. And a lot of people are kind of jumping on that bandwagon, saying, oh yeah, it's not focused, so it's omnidirectional, so it's not focused on one part of the body, and the not so much the frequency, but the strength of the frequency will be a much lower wattage. I think it was milliwatts. It was milliwatts as opposed to, watts, which will be in a focused tight beam. And they were saying, that we shouldn't really be concerned at all. And I thought, well, okay, some of what you were saying, you could say, it looks like it makes sense. It reads quite well, but there isn't. I mean, I think you inform us, and I'm pretty sure Barry did as well, that there are studies have been done showing that it doesn't have to be focused, that omnidirectional, if you're exposed to it over a long enough period of time, will do the same damage. Is that correct or incorrect?
Well, that's absolutely correct. I mean, the National, the Academy of Science, or whatever it is, this NTP study that was just out in 2016 showed that it creates enormous brain damage. Over the course of time. Like anything, the first tests that were done on people, and even looking at how long they've had the phone and so on, the longer you have the phone, the bigger increase of brain tumors there are. It just runs hand in hand.
Yeah.
So the industry did a study that only looked at people who had the phones for only a year or 2 years. And of course then they said, oh, well, look, they're perfectly safe. There's no brain tumors. Then they did studies that looked at people who had them for 10 years, and then they found all the brain tumors they wanted. So, it's a lot in how you look at this, but with anything, this is, right now, the wireless stuff is on the same frequency as the microwave oven. Now, the microwave oven is, say, 1,000 watts or 600 watts of power, whereas the phone's only a couple of watts of power. But, so what's happening is you're not being cooked, you're being lightly basted.
Yeah. Over a long period of time.
And the problem here's the other thing. It's just, you're saying it's not focused. When you put that phone up to your ear, it's focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same group of cells are being hit over and over again, relentlessly. It depends on how long you're on that phone.
I've actually said, Walter, as well, I've actually seen women, and you see women carrying the phone in their back pocket, and I've actually said to, my daughter was one of them, and I pointed out the reality. I said, how do you think that phone communicates with the base station? And she says, I don't know. And I says, well, it's communicating backwards and forwards. So if the base station is in front of you and you have the phone in your back pocket, guess what? Guess where those they're not going out of the phone, travelling around the side of your body and over to the tower. They're going right through you. And I says, directly opposite to your back pocket are your ovaries.
I just want to play this for the listener. This is what Wi-Fi sounds like. So if you have Wi-Fi on in your house, this is what the Wi-Fi sounds like. Okay, so if you have a Wi-Fi router on in your house, this is what's hitting you 24/7. You there, Walter?
Yeah. I my foot tripped over one of these wires, and it just disconnected me for a moment.
Okay, no problem at all.
If you got Wi-Fi, Walter, you wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah.
I know. There's always a good side to everything.
Okay, well, listen, Walter, I just played what Wi-Fi sounds like for people. I'll just play it again for you there. You've probably heard this already anyway. So this is a Wi-Fi router, and it's pushing out. Now, you won't hear that, obviously, because it's such a high frequency. But what I'm also going to play here is what a walkabout deck phone sounds like. Now
that's on 20. If you got deck phones and Wi-Fi on, you're being bombarded with that 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, yeah.
And obviously, because you can't see it and smell it and taste it,
yeah,
you don't think it's.
I can't hear it. You can't see it, but that's happening in the background.
Well, and the biggest organ of your body is your skin, and it's fully exposed to this. And that's the problem. You're really getting overly exposed. And there's no way of controlling this. This is 24/7 these things are on. Those deck phones are on all the time. The base of it's on 24/7. Even if you turn the actual handset off, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, again, it's all part of education, is to educate people to it. And with the 5G is coming out. Now, we do have Mark Steele coming on the show next week. Mark works in the industry, and Mark said he'd come on the show to tell us all about 5G and the dangers. So if we think 4G and 3G is bad, 5G, we might as well be sitting in the microwave the way things are at the moment. What's your take on 5G, Walter? Have you done any research on that?
Yeah, 5G is one of the worst things to come along because they're going higher up the frequency ladder. Now they're going up to 28 gigahertz, I think it is, something like that. And these because they're going up the frequency ladder, the signals don't travel well, so they don't travel very far. You see, so what they're needing to do is put like thousands and thousands of little miniature masts all over the place. So there was a city in England where they put in the paper that when they got 5G, they got 38,000 masts put up. On almost every lamppost on every corner had a 5G transmitter. Now that's an increase of 38,000 times whatever was there before, and at a much higher frequency. And the 5G frequency that they're using is actually the same frequency that the military use for weaponry. They use that exact same frequency for crowd control.
And
it's called a people zapper. You can look it up.
That's right.
And this thing burns holes in you. It burns your skin. That's why you get out of the way once this thing starts getting fired off. Now, you're telling me that, again, okay, they'll say, well, we're not putting it out. It's not heavy a pressure. But if it can burn your skin at a higher pressure, what's it doing at the lower pressure? And there's no studies have been done on 5G or 4G or 3G or any of this equipment. So, are we supposed to allow them to put out something that increases the amount by 38,000 times and goes to a higher frequency, which is much more biologically active than the lower frequency?
What do you think is behind this, Walter? In the bigger scheme of things, what and who is behind this? Why are they doing it if it's so dangerous to everybody? Well,
I guess, I'd just be a conspiracy theorist if I really went to town on this. Certainly, they haven't done any research. They know this is harmful. The military have had this already, and the military are using this frequency. So to me, it's a military initiative. And there was talk at the time whenever the smart meters came out that there's a lot of circuitry in that smart meter that nobody knows what it is. So, we don't know what this stuff can do. They're putting it out there. They're trying to do the Internet of Things, where everything is wirelessly connected and chatting to each other, and they could download all the information on us and so on. But, we're being bathed in this stuff from birth to death. And I think that's going to come an awful lot faster.
Do you know what? It's a wolf, as they say, a wolf in sheep's clothing, Walter. Where obviously they're going to be introducing this technology and selling it to the public as, you know, it's harmless, and this is look how easy it's going to make your life and your internet and all this sort of stuff. But as you say, with the frequency that it's on, I mean, at any point in time, I'm assuming they can ramp up that frequency at any time they like and just, you know, get everyone under control.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And they can even pinpoint a person they want to kill. You know, I mean, this thing will know where you are at any 1 second. Because eventually they're going to start chipping. They've already got a company in Sweden that's invented chips for every person on Earth. And they're testing them right now on their own employees. So they're intending to chip people. You know, there's no end to what's coming, you see. And you know how all the new technologies, they lead on to like baby monitors, to a teddy bear that watches your kid, to all kinds of new inventions. So this 5G is going to just increase that by millions of times. And every device in your house is already starting to send signals out. You don't even know it. You're being exposed to stuff you don't even know. And you're getting no benefit from any of this exposure. Zero benefit, except cancer.
Mm. And of course, the increase in cancer at the moment and people having brain tumours and all that is just a massive increase. And it has to be down to the environment, and not just the food, but the environment that we're in as well.
Well, look, you know, for the past, I think it was 20 years, up until about 8 or 10 years ago, the biggest killer of children was leukemia. That was the biggest killer of children, childhood leukemia. Now it's brain tumors. Now, what changed in a kid's head? What exactly changed in a child's head in the last 10 years? They're putting these devices up to their head, for one thing, and then the family are putting these devices in their house. And then they're sitting there all day getting irradiated. And now they're in schools. Mm. You know, and there's a lot of lawsuits about all of this, too, you know. So as they keep doing this, I mean, you have that girl Jenny Fry in England who became electro-hypersensitive from all the exposure from school. And then she committed suicide because she couldn't even go to her friends' houses or do anything. She couldn't go out even into the street because there was Wi-Fi. And by the way, they're intending to make all the lampposts be Wi-Fi'd and 5G'd. So, you know, they're going to be expanding this like you would not believe.
That's incredible.
And, you know, already we have California has banned 5G. I think, the Isle of Wight has banned 5G. So, I mean, why doesn't everybody race to get this? You know?
Yeah.
The scientists are all terrified of this because they believe this is it's a weapon. And actually, a guy, Mark Steele, I've heard him talk, he believes it's a weapon as well. And he's even felt the effects of it.
A weapon against the people, Walter?
Well, absolutely. Mm. You know, it's a silent killer. It leaves no fingerprints.
True. It's definitely a worry, and I really don't know. You know, there's people getting shielding and stuff like that, and I know you can get the likes of RF paint and all that, but that's all fine. But what we should be doing is saying, well, we shouldn't want this, and then again there should be a protest or people standing up and saying, no, we don't want this in our local community, our local area. But again, trying to convince people that this technology is dangerous because they're so kind of their belief system is that the government would never do anything to harm them, and the government love them and they'll take care of them, and you wouldn't do anything that would be dangerous for the people around them. And, you know, it's this kind of false economy that people have. And as you said, you mentioned asbestos and thalidomide and various other things. I mean, if history doesn't tell us that, you know, they lie, the government lie, and this is what they're doing, or maybe they're just ignorant, maybe they're being told from their people, like we heard from Barry Trower regarding the World Health Organization, and the fact that Dr. Michael Rapiccioli, who's the group head of the steering committee, was the guy who was double jobbing. And he was double jobbing for the communication industry, so they sacked him. But that was after the report went out saying that mobile phone technology was fine and safe.
Yeah, well, you know, I could run into his history too, but it's not worth it. The reality is that this has never been tested. Now, you know, you wouldn't expect that they would give this to children without testing, but they now put it in schools, and that's without 5G. 5G is just an absolute disaster. To increase the amount of radiation before you even know what the smaller amount of radiation is doing, it's astounding, absolutely astounding. It's baffling, because this is going to lead to a huge increase in cancer. It's no choice. Probably skin cancer, brain damage, all kinds of things are coming. Already they can show you that they can change your hormone levels with this stuff. They can decrease your hormone output. They can change all kinds of things about you with this. Why are we getting this? Just because you can download a film in a second? I mean, Christ, it doesn't make any sense at all. Their story is not holding water. It's being rushed out everywhere before any scientist can get a chance to do testing on this. And what we do know from what the military have already done, this is a weapon. And that's actually what your guy Mark Steele is saying. And he's a industry insider to me. So, there's just a lot of worry out there. And I'm on an email with a lot of scientists because I brought Professor Uli Johansson over here to Northern Ireland. We did a conference, Wi-Fi dangers to schools. We were trying to stop it from being spread into schools. But they pushed ahead anyway. But because of that, I've been put on an email with all these scientists, so I get their emails, and I can tell you they're totally worried about this. 5G is just an absolute disaster.
Okay. So what's the solution? We're convincing them that 5G is safe isn't going to work. So the only thing, by the sound of what you're saying, is the only way we can deal with the schools and stuff like that is to actually approach them on a legal level and look for the legal requirements for the school, as you say, health and safety issues, and if the insurance covers the 5G or Wi-Fi technology. That's the only way you can actually deal with it. But then again, I think you said that the last time we talked that you did this, and the school was saying that they were writing their own insurance policy.
Yeah, that's what they said. But then they didn't have any documentation for it. So it's just empty words. So what we're doing now is we're looking into suing the principal. So we're talking to legal people at the minute in the hopes of suing the principal, because it's the only way to stop this. The principal has ultimate say in that school, and if the principal has given permission, she also takes all the liability off the companies. So it's not the company we sue, or it's not the education authority, it's the principal. She can turn it off.
Yeah.
And she's refusing to do it, and she's putting children at risk. That's not what we hired her to do.
Yeah.
So we're going to take her over the jump if we can do it. Now, there's a large teachers union, the largest one in Europe, has now jumped in behind the parents. And they're talking to legal people at the minute as well about doing a judicial review. So I think this is going to go to court, unless the school just turn it off, which is probably the fastest thing and the smartest thing they could do. But I don't think they will. So I think it's going to end up in court. But it needs to happen all over the place, because I think if one principal gets sued and is prosecuted, or certainly has to pay out large payout, you'll see every principal turning this off the same day.
Yeah. I totally agree, and that's it. But the trouble is, you know yourself, the way the system works is that if it does go to court, there'll be a nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and they'll probably push the actual case down the road for another few years while they roll out 5G. Because we know, I mean, let's be honest, we know how corrupt the system can be. And whether it goes to European courts and whether it's fought over there, maybe you might have more of a chance.
Well, you see, what we'd be asking for is an injunction. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Because if they can't prove it's safe and they don't have their safety tests,
yeah,
then it has to be turned off.
Yeah.
And so we'll be asking for an injunction. If we get the injunction, it should cover all schools.
Yeah.
So this will become international news. If we could turn off all the schools in Northern Ireland over a safety issue, believe me, this will go worldwide.
Yeah.
And that's what people should be doing.
Yeah. Big time. I think I think you're on the right track there, and having the backup of the likes of Ole Johansson and maybe Barry Trower. I mean, you have Barry's details, I think, also.
Yeah,
so Barry would back you up. And of course, we've had a number of scientists on our show who have talked about the dangers of this, and medical doctors on, and I'm sure all of them would have the backing. Now, there is a group down in Ireland, I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but we had one of the medical doctors on, I think it was John Kelly, but I'm not too sure, Dr. John Kelly, and he was talking about the environment. And he was an Irish doctor down south of Ireland who actually was concerned about it. But there is the environmental teachers group over here in Southern Ireland who are concerned about this, and there's people on it. But I did present this to my son's school, his school down the road. And they, it was like I was saying about, there's a spaceship on Mars and there's little green aliens with big antennas coming out of their ears. Honest, I might as well have said that to them because they just didn't get it.
No, well, of course, they're not going to. They're also, a lot of schools are maybe being subsidized. You wouldn't know, what's going on in the background of this whole issue. But certainly they can't admit that they were wrong at this point either. You see, it's catch-22. It's sort of like the fluoride. If they take it out and everybody suddenly gets better, there'll be lawsuits, you know. So the same thing with this. If they turn it off and suddenly people start clearing up and they stop having skin rashes and headaches and bleeding noses and all these other things that come with this technology, they'll start suing.
Yeah.
And so they know that that's what's coming, so they can't afford to turn back now. And the principal is sitting there in the firing line. All the principals don't realize that they are at risk. It's their money, it's their house. It's not the education authorities. It's them. And it's their own private savings. They think they're covered by the education authorities, but the education authorities don't even have insurance. They can't get it. Yeah. And the other thing is, you see, if we get an injunction, we won't be waiting years for an injunction. That'll happen on the first day in court. If this thing hits court at all, the judge will have to make a decision whether an injunction is required, because if they have no safety testing, which they don't, then how can you let this continue on while you're having a long trial? It doesn't make sense. It'll just mean more and more damaged children when you finally figure out that it causes cancer. So I think you'll see this getting turned off at some point. And the Achilles heel to the whole industry is the schools.
Yeah.
Because it's about children, and it's about health and children. And nobody asked their parents or gave them, the parents never gave permission for the kids to be whacked at school with radiation. Yeah. They're just doing it.
And of course, people who are working in offices or working in an environment that have the wireless technology, again, from a health and safety point of view, when I was working in the UK, one of my many roles was health and safety officer. And in all the time, now Wi-Fi was kind of coming in. There was wireless routers there because I remember setting one up in the office. But at no time did our health and safety consultant ever turn around to me and say, by the way, do you have any, insurance for that device there? Because maybe he wasn't even aware of the issues with wireless, because it was fairly new at the time and being rolled out. But I'm not even sure health and safety people today are actually aware of it. It's kind of like the best way to test them is to ask them about the wireless technology. Is it dangerous to a health and safety officer? It'd be like going to somebody who's a nutritionist and saying, do you recommend Diet Coke for me to lose weight? And if they turn around and they say, oh yeah, that's no problem at all, then they don't know their subject matter. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you see, I think what's happened here, it's like when you want to boil a lobster, you do it really slowly, and then by the time the lobster figures it out, you turn the heat up in little increments, eventually it's just getting cooked.
Yeah.
And, they're sort of doing that with this technology. First they bring in an analog mobile phone, which wasn't anywhere near as dangerous as the digital. Then they went to a lower digital frequency. Then they started increasing it. Little by little, people have gotten used to the devices around them, thinking they're safe. But the brain tumor rate's gone up. The cancer rate's gone through the roof. All kinds of other things have happened. ADHD, all kinds of things are coming out of this. And, there's no way of knowing how much of this is being caused by this. But certainly, they should have done safety testing.
Yeah, now there is one of the listeners on PIR Moon Girl said, but surely the teachers are at risk also. And yes, they are at risk. The teachers, everybody's at risk of it, but it's pure kind of ignorance as to the fact that they don't realise how dangerous it is.
Well, we were involved in a meeting with the school. There was an open meeting. We spoke up at the meeting, and basically there was concerned parents and teachers there. It was different issues as well, but this one issue about the Wi-Fi was brought up. The teachers were quite concerned when they heard the information, and they looked at the principal for for her guidance, because obviously, well, if anyone's going to know, she's going to know, because she's the principal. The principal swiftly said, "Yes, I've heard all this nonsense before. I've been on to the Department of the Environment, and they've assured us that there's nothing to be concerned about." And that was and we were basically dismissed, and we weren't given an option to pursue it any further. It was like, you asked a question, you got an answer, now shut up and go away.
That's why you need to bring this to the risk assessments they're required to do.
Yeah.
Because now it doesn't come down to this sort of technical argument. You either have the risk assessments you're required by law to perform, or you don't. That's all that we're talking about now. We're at them for the risk assessments, and we're also contacting a scientist to get a risk assessment done, because the school haven't even bothered to do the risk assessments. And the other thing we're challenging them on as well, and this is worth putting out, is that they're specifically required to do risk assessments on pregnant teachers, and none have been done.
Yeah. Now, I remember years ago, Walter, in one of the companies I worked in, there was kind of like a call centre, and any women that were pregnant were actually given a shielding, like a kind of uniform thing that you put over, and to protect them from the screen, because they were old CRT screens. The
lead apron, wasn't it?
Yeah, like the apron, yeah. And that was kind of way ahead of its time, which is great to see. And that was actually in a mobile phone company, funny enough. They had massive masts on the roof. But that was got to do with the CRT screens. Now, I'm not sure. I know there was kind of some radiation coming off them, but probably not near as much as mobile phones. Yeah. But I don't know what the answer would be for corporate companies.
Well, I know whenever the police first rolled out their Tetra system, they had to let pregnant policewomen, I should say, from having this device. They couldn't give it to them. They didn't have to carry it on their bodies. The policewomen didn't have to carry it on their bodies, because this could affect the eggs. This could affect their fertility. It could affect the outcome of a pregnancy. And yet now here we are so many years later from when Tetra first got rolled out, and now this stuff's in schools. Where all these young girls that are in school, here's the problem. A young girl, from the time she's born, has all the eggs she's ever going to have. All her eggs are inside of her right now. And if you irradiate those eggs continuously, over and over again, you could affect that she doesn't even have children, ever. I mean, this stuff can cause infertility. There's so many studies out there now looking at all of these things. I mean, the Bioinitiative report. Go to bioinitiative.org, and you'll see over 2,500 studies covering cancer, infertility, all kinds of other illnesses and damage that come from this wireless devices, microwave equipment. And yet we're having to fight to try and stop them from putting up 36 or 38,000 more little repeater masts in a city.
Yeah.
I mean, Dublin's going to be, it'll be a lot more than even 38,000, I can tell you. It'll probably be 100,000 little repeater masts. The place is so big. So you're going to be increasing the amount of radiation by 100,000 times, and you haven't even gotten any safety testing for any of this equipment, and yet it's at the exact same frequency as weapons that the military is using. Now, does that make sense? Makes no sense to me at all.
Exactly. And it's just frightening that this has been rolled out and we're not even asked. The people haven't even been asked. Maybe like if we had the proper, direct democracy over here, or representative democracy, we could actually have a forum, or not a forum, a referendum to say whether we want it or not. But you see, there you go. That's been taken away from us, the people in Southern Ireland anyway. And we could say, no, we don't want 5G, thank you very much. But again, we can't do that because we don't have the rights to do it, because it's not in our constitution.
I have a suggestion for you. And this is something I thought about, is, the first town in the south that's getting the 5G, it's being rolled out in Dingle.
That's right.
Dingle only has 2,000 inhabitants. Now, how hard would it be to do a people's referendum in Dingle?
Yeah.
I'll bet you could do it on one Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Certainly you could cover the whole place in a day and get everybody to sign whether they want 5G or not. Mm. And then the other question I'd put to them is, do you want the minister or the civil servant who's responsible for all of this, do you want him replaced by a member of the public who's elected and is there for 5 years? So that you don't have to face a civil servant who survives no matter what he passes and approves.
Yeah.
They're going against what the will of the people is.
Yeah, totally. And the people need to wake up. And that's the trouble. They need to wake up, and they're not. Well, Walter, we're going to have to call it there, and we're going to be getting Harry in. But a big thank you for coming on. We definitely do more talking about this because it's an ongoing issue, and we want to get an update from you as to how you're getting on with what you're doing up there, and maybe we can do the same thing down here because I think it's quite interesting. So a big thank you for coming on. I'm going to pass you over to Steve. Steve's going to get all your contact details and stuff like that, and just let people know how to get in touch with you. Steve.
Yeah, again, Walter, unfortunately, we only had the short period of time that we did. I know we could talk about this for hours, and as I did say earlier, you're a man who doesn't mince his words. You've got all the information, and well, you've got the information as you see it, and you're not afraid to share it. If people want to find out more information, Walter, where can they get that all that info?
Well, for 5G, I'm not sure. I would say your guy Mark Steele will probably have a good site on this in your next talk that you have with him. For the rest of this, I would start with the bioinitiative.org. It's got all the studies you could possibly want. And you can also go on Stop Smart Meters. They have a lot of stuff on this as well. There's a lot of sites. If you just put in, 5G health dangers, you'll come up with tons of sites. There's doctor sites that publicize health dangers. So you can find out about it. It's not hidden. But we still don't have enough research, even know what 5G is going to do. But the research we do have says it's going to be terrible. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just on email. So if anybody wants to email me, they can. I'll give it out now, or you already have it. You can give it out to anybody that wants it. Yeah,
if anybody wants, rather than give it out, if anybody wants it, just email us and we forward on your request to Walter. Okay, Walter, stay with us there for a minute. We're just going to go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
Okay, and we're back. As Walter did say there just before the musical break, if you want to contact him, if you fire us off an email, we will pass you on Walter's details. Or if you just throw Walter Graham into a search engine, you will find a lot of information. He's a very popular guy all across the internet. So, that's probably one of the best ways to find him, actually.
Brilliant stuff. Now, our next guest, Harry Rhodes. Harry's having major technical problems his end. And it could be the powers to be obviously don't want us talking. Maybe that's one of the reasons. We did mention there's a lot of glitches regarding technology over the last couple of weeks. I don't know whether it's got to do with environment or whatever, but definitely loads of issues. So Harry's we're going to have a short interview with Harry, but we're going to get an update on what's been going on. Good evening, Harry. Thanks for coming on.
Good evening.
Listen, you were on a few weeks ago with us, and we got organised, and we got the translator and everything else, and then we had this massive beast from the east come over, and then we had the sun from the beast from the east come over, and I'm sure people were saying, hang on, what's this about the translators if we're getting all this bad weather? So the best man to speak to about this, I thought, was yourself. Do you want to give us a heads up of before and during and after and what was going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we don't make weather disappear, but put it this way, I'll cut to the chase. We should have had minus 10 degrees this last weekend. It was forecast. Minus 10 degrees, we're going to have another catastrophe coming in. Now, what we do, we look at the weather forecast and we look at the weather satellites in advance on what's coming in, and we deploy accordingly. You remember Ophelia? We're supposed to have had over 120 mile an hour winds coming through the Midlands. We didn't. It was about 38. So we should have had minus 10. We've had plus 10 this weekend. So somebody explain that one.
Right, okay.
So we had plus 10. But the main thing that's happening right now, and I want all your listeners to know this, I think we mentioned it last time, and you may have had people on the radio, but it's a fact. We are in a solar minimum. The polar vortex has collapsed, and that's causing catastrophic weather right now. So, if we hadn't have deployed, we would have had massive difference in the weather. Absolutely no doubt about it.
So what about this kind of beast from the east that came in? Was that something that was going to happen, or, you know, could it have been stopped or averted or changed, or how come it came in? And is that part of these weather issues that we're experiencing globally?
Well, it is. We're looking potentially at probably twice as bad as it was. And I really mean that. I mean, -10 to +10 is a massive difference. We haven't exactly got summer conditions yet, but we haven't done bad. I mean, a few days ago we had beautiful, clear blue skies. We got a team deploying on that. But we've got a reversal in the jet stream and a reversal in parts of in the northern hemisphere of the polar vortex. I mean, you can go on one of the satellites, which is Null School, wind satellite. It is catastrophic. We're having crops fail. Some parts of Australia are 70% down on food production. So what we've got to do now is start stocking on food. This isn't like an emergency panic, but you need some food in the house for when this starts getting worse.
Okay, so how soon are we talking about, Harry?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? But I mean, there's reports that the elites are preparing their bunkers and going down the bunkers. I mean, that sounds pretty close to me. But in the next 6 months, you will be looking at major increases in food prices. So that's some preparation people should do. Right. But this is going to be well in hand. We are going to have major problems next winter.
Next Wednesday? What's happening next Wednesday?
No, winter.
No. Next winter. Next Wednesday. Sorry. Next Wednesday. Yeah, sorry, next Wednesday. Now, you did say that before. You did say that if you think this winter is bad in 2017, 2018, wait till 2018, 2019 comes around. Because we are on a solar minimum. We're going into a mini ice age. Things are going to get worse. And this is happening globally. What's happening on the global scale that's causing all of this?
Well, view it like a cup of tea. When you stir a cup of tea, the vortex in the middle goes nice and tight. And as it starts to slow down and you've taken your spoon out and the sugar's all dissolved, it starts going wider and wider and collapsing until it goes out towards the edges, and then it opens wide up and your vortex is collapsed. That's exactly what's happened in the North Pole. Before, it was nice and tight, but this started in 2010. And it's slowly getting worse and worse and worse. Now, if you look on the sun, there's hardly any sunspots at all. There is things that I do know what's going on in the background I'm not prepared to talk about. But right now, I think we've got one major solar flare. There's a different type of radiation coming from the sun because the surface opens wide up and you get a different frequency of radiation, which is quite harmful.
Okay. Well, a question for you in that, Harry. People believe that we actually don't have a sun, but we have a sun simulator, and they're using mirror technology. Have you come across this? Because apparently there's a patent that was lodged with the American government a few years ago, actually for sun simulators. And there's people on the internet that are doing the research, and they have weather cams, and they're picking up which are unfiltered, and they're picking up planets that have not been filtered to the main news media. And also there are people talking about the sun simulator and why it is and how it's working. What's your take on that?
There's lots of news about Nibiru, different planets. I think BP Earth watched. He said he could prove, and he did videos on it, that it's actually, I mean, we've got a few dozen planets going around Jupiter. And only a few months, 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, all the planets lined up in a straight line. Happens only once every so many thousands and thousands of years. And that can upset the sun's magnetics because it's a bit like a skater. when a skater is holding the lady and he's going round, he actually isn't staying stationary. He's rotating on a circular axis. He's wobbling around. And that's what Jupiter does to the sun. The sun actually wobbles with it. So you can imagine planets affect the sun, and they all ended up in a straight line at one point. All the planets are on one side of the sun on a straight line. That does literally make the sun throw a wobbly. And that can have a big effect on it too. But yes, I deal in patterns, and there is definitely a pattern. In fact, there's more than one on there on a fake sun. And it's lenses which concentrate the frequencies. Now, there's two ways you can look at this. I mean, a lot of people are saying the elites are out to get us. Personally, I think they are. Or are they out to protect the Earth? Probably for themselves. When the heat plummets from the sun, there's one thing you can do to increase the heat, and that's get a magnifying glass, which is what this appears to be. So it could be concentrating heat in certain places of the planet or increase the temperature of the planet. However, if you concentrate a lens in one spot, it can also be a weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, which is worrying. So if are you saying the elites are heading down now or planning to head down?
There is, there's the elites. The elites are actually in panic mode because people are waking up. That's one of the things, and genuinely waking up, not guessing. People are waking up and seeing it for what it is, and the elites know this.
Yeah.
There's loads of people out there saying the same thing. For example, I went and gave a talk in Birmingham last night, and these people are dealing with the legal system, very clever people. They're aware of the Illuminati and what's going on, and there's an evil force controlling them that we can go into later. But I explained a few home truths that they hadn't heard before and technology they hadn't seen before, and they were blown away. And these people were wowing. They realized straight away, yes, that's one of the ways to go. And so it made a big impact last night. I was pleased about that.
Brilliant stuff. And if you're telling people it's always good for people to stock up. I think the beast from the east, especially where myself and Steve live, we were kind of snowed in due to snow drifts. And lucky enough, we had enough food stock anyway, so it wasn't too bad.
Yes.
But we only had enough for probably about a few days. And that's all we needed at the time. But I think it gave a major wake-up call to a lot of people that if you get snowed in for a few days, what do you do? So how many days, with what's going on, what would you say to people? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks stock of food?
No, you need 4 months at least. Wow. Truly, you do. Put it this way, I can't remember whether we spoke about this last time, but back in the 1300s, 1310, on the last solar minimum, when the UV light dropped, 200 million people died in Europe. 200 million. That's in the 1300s. That's pretty well 90% of the population.
Yeah.
And they didn't die from the cold. They died from starvation.
Yeah.
And this thing lasted for 30 odd years. So, it's a bit short-sighted to say 5 months.
Yeah, no, well, some people are actually, when they have the money, they're doing it for 2 years. They reckon 2 years will be enough. But I suppose the way other people look at it is that if starvation within 7 days, cannibalism kicks in, right? And because we only live so long, I think 3 days without food, and I think it's a number of days. You need water anyway. But you can live long, I think it's 40 days, or you can live a certain amount of days with water. But if you don't have food, then you can only live a certain amount of time. So after 7 days with hunger, cannibalism does kick in. So if you have about, 3 or 4 weeks and nobody's coming to kick down your door, chances are a lot of people will be dying off or dead after the 3 or 4 weeks.
I think everybody's door will have been kicked in by that point.
Yeah.
There's the golden rule of the 3. 1 minute for air, 1 week for water, and 1 month for food.
Right.
So you got to bear that in mind. Here's some quick tips. If people are saying, okay, I've got no food, and what do I do? Go to shops like Lidl. home bargains, okay, it's not fantastic food, but it's better having food than nothing at all. And most people haven't got £2,000 to go and get a load of stock and tin food in. Which, by the way, tin food will last up to 10 years. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But at your places like Home Bargains, for £1, you can get 4 packs of them noodles with the flavouring in and all sorts of stuff. So, for £10, you've got 40 packs, 40 mini meals for a tenner.
Yeah.
What I just bought is a dehydrating machine. And you can slice meat, fruit, bananas, apples, oranges, you place it inside and it dries it all out. And you get a small vacuum pack machine and you can pack it in that. That's good for a few years. And all you have to do is rehydrate it, or the fruit you can eat as it is.
Yeah. We have actually talked about this.
All the nourishment in.
Yeah, we've talked about this. We had the Bernadette Bowen on, and she talks in a book about a dehydrator as well. And using that, and that's good. And there is food that you can buy online as well, I believe. More so in America, I see it rather than over here. I don't know whether you see it in the UK, but you can get like the kind of food you'd have in the space shuttle, where it's all in bags, but it lasts for like 25 years or something.
Yes, absolutely. And this isn't fear-mongering. A natural disaster can happen in a particular area. For example, an earthquake. There's no guarantee you don't get an earthquake. And if that happens, the next day you won't be driving down to Tesco and buying what you want. It doesn't work like that.
So this beast from the east that we had, which is very severe, and a lot of people in Ireland felt it and obviously suffered from it. What do you think is going to happen in 2018, 2019 in the winter? I mean, we're going down a slippery slope at the moment. How bad do you think it's going to be?
I wouldn't like to say exactly. I've got this feeling. Sometimes you go on a feeling that everybody's sensing something's coming this year, and we started seeing differences in the weather massively since January of this year. I think next winter is going to be quite extreme. I mean, I'm looking at satellites 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times a day, looking at the weather, looking at wind directions. And previously, our deployments, we could quite easily alter what we were doing. Now we're working twice as hard to control certain storms, and we've got more people on the team. So, it's difficult to say. I mean, if this continues as it is, I think we're going to have pretty bad winter next year, and certainly in 2 years, I think we've got a major problem. So this started in 2010. So we're looking at 10 years of into a solar minimum, and that's when it starts kicking in pretty bad.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be, for 7 years, a 17-year period, I believe.
Well, it's difficult to say. I've read a report where it could go on for 50 years.
Wow.
And if it does, then it said that the USA will, in the Northern Hemisphere, they'll have 1 mile thick of ice. Now, no amount of food storage is going to prevent anything from happening to you in that case.
Yeah.
Australia, certain companies in Australia, these last few weeks are 70% down on the food production. Seeds in the States, they've just given up planting them. So we're building up to a major food problem.
That's,
and fair enough, if you've got plenty of money in your pocket, which most people haven't, if you've got plenty of money, then you can get what you want till somebody takes it off you.
Yeah, well, if you have your little converted silo for your underground bunker for the millionaires, that's why, I mean, we've heard, we had a guest on, I forget his name. Do you remember the guys? Was it Patterson? He was telling us about how dangerous what's happening with the climate change, and he said that Steve Wozniak. Wozniak. Steve, I always get that name wrong. Steve Wozniak from Apple. He's actually moving he has moved to Tasmania based on his information. Because he said there's a lot of millionaires and billionaires heading down south to the southern hemisphere. Yeah. Now, they won't escape it, but it won't be as bad as the northern hemisphere.
Yeah, it'll be survivable.
Yeah.
Look at what the elites have done, and this is not conspiracy theory. We know the CIA invented that one. But you look at what the elites have done, they haven't just dug rooms underground. They've got 3 and 4 lines of roads that go to theatres and massive swimming pools. They have spent billions, probably trillions underground. And truck drivers have been interviewed, and people have driven in there under these places and seen massive thick steel doors that go on for miles and miles. Now, that's not somebody, that's not a weekend survival kit. That's like 30-year plus survival, potentially.
Yeah. Well, I've seen the video. If you go to the Ozarks are very high up. They're, I think, over 1,000 feet up, and they have the underground bases. If you go on YouTube, just type in Ozarks underground bases, and you can see the person doing the interview and the trucks going in and out. And the fact that it's called Ozark, as in Ark, Noah's Ark, it's just uncanny that they call it Ozarks, but it's very high up, and it's in the middle of America, mid America. And they have all these trucks going in, as you say, doing on basis, and they're blatantly showing you. They're saying, yeah, that's, you can see the trucks going in. They're not even trying to cover up.
No.
It's.
I don't know why, because it's almost like they've been doing it that long. They just blasé about it. It's probably everybody knows anyway now.
Well, they don't care because they know people won't do anything about it. They know that people will say, oh, well, they're not going to bother. It's like, we're trying to do what we do and try and, give people information and, interview people and talk about it. But there's a certain element that will look, I'm okay, Jack. But as soon as the crap hits the fan, they're the ones that would be panicking. Why didn't somebody tell me? Well, the information's out there. Ignorance is now a choice. So the information's out there. You just didn't bother. You're too busy watching EastEnders and Coronation Street to actually go and do the research. And then what you have to do is the people who do stock up on food have to make sure they have enough protection to stop these other people. Because, as John Irwin says, who's he doesn't like being called a super soldier, but he's a very highly trained soldier. And he said, your enemy isn't the government or the police. Your enemy is your next door neighbour. When your next door neighbour doesn't have food, they'll be kicking in the door. He said, that's what you need to protect yourself from.
Yep. And that's one of the reasons the government wants you to live in city situations and not out. Well, there's 2 reasons. The other reason is that the 5G system is a kill switch. Coming on to kill switches, there are some amazing things going on right now. We've been hit from every angle. Some of it's fear-mongering. Some of it is absolute 100% reality. For example, a member of the US government, this is one of the things, if my computer was up, I could have brought it up. Alex Jones was talking about it. He is being sarcastic and making it a joke. And this was on the front page of the Daily Mail, that they now have a virus that they've manufactured, half animal and half human being, that will wipe out millions of people if it's released. And the same person was kicking a stink up about 16 people shot in a school, and he's joking that they've got a virus that can wipe out billions of people. Yeah,
it's
and the news reports even mention the laboratories it's being made of, what it's capable of. So that's another thing. If the population is going to die out, they're going to help them along the way as well.
Yeah.
And this is a happy radio station.
Yeah, well, it's all about opening your mind to what's going on. We do try and look for the positives and the negatives. We just had Walter Graham on. Walter is a good friend of OYM, and Walter, we were talking about the dangers of Wi-Fi and 5G, funny enough. And we have Mark Steele on the show next week, he's an industry insider who actually warns people about 5G and that is they have weaponized 5G. He feels it's a weapon. So we'll be talking about that. So that's kind of, all the kind of negative stuff. But I'm sure there are some positives in there. Now we have a
big positive, yeah.
Okay, well, we do have a couple of questions, but go ahead and tell us about your positives there.
Right. There's one thing that the elites don't like, and that's natural cures. Powerful natural cures. And for the last 6 weeks, I've been testing something, and so far I have had 100% success rate. I've had people who've been coughing for 2 years, And they've gone to the doctors, they've gone to the hospital, they take a swab and they test for viruses. And they don't quite get any results. Yet this person's coughing and coughing, and they're bringing rubbish up, and they're short of breath, and they don't feel very well, and they can't find anything wrong with them. And do you know what it is? It's a fungal spore, and they don't test for fungal spores. So, I've come up with a particular product and a piece of technology, and I first of all released 5 of them. And I got people who've had coughs for months and months, and they all tested them. I've had a 100% success rate. Then 25 have gone out, and I've had another 100% success rate. One of the patients has had emphysema for 2 years. He used it for 5 days, according to my instructions. He turned up to his friend's house, who gave him the kit that bought it from me, saying, "This is incredible. I'm now fit and healthy." He was on death's door almost a week before, couldn't get his breath on oxygen. So he starts taking this. 6 days later, he's up on his feet, he's got his energy back, and he's got no breathing problem. Fantastic. Now, when you start treating fungal spores, and it's a fungal spore you've got, it's almost a miraculous cure. Now, one of the things that we've discussed before, and I was going to bring it up on the computer here and read it to you. The government's done tests around the coast, one from a ship that was on the property of the royal family, and they used a single jet for doing some spraying of viruses. Now, this was a different virus. What they've done, if you have a virus, it's gone within 2 weeks. Virus cannot last months. A virus dies a natural death. They blended the viruses in with a fungal spore so that when they spray it, the virus survives. The fungal spores go in your lungs, the virus gets released, and the fungal spores start running along with it. So it's a double-edged weapon. Wow. People think they've got a virus. The fungal spore goes on for years. And they sprayed this over hundreds of thousands of people in the population. There are dozens of other tests. And this is people waking up not liking what they're doing. From the government, release these documents to the public. And all the dates and times and how many litres were released and what the product was sprayed on the UK population. It's disgusting.
Do you know where? Can you give us locations or just in general?
Yes, no, he did give the locations. It was down south on the south coast. I think it was Devon.
Oh, okay.
But I can give you all the details on it. It's been posted on Facebook by somebody who was given the documents, and the documents are there as well.
I did see an article, Harry, during the week, or maybe last week, regarding this fungal spores that people are breathing in or have an infection from it. It wasn't viral, it was fungus. And it's funny that you should say that, because we had Dr. Simoncini on the show, who's an oncologist, specialist in cancer, and he said that that cancer is a fungus as well, and he washes it with sodium bicarb via a cannula, and you can get rid of breast cancer in 6 days. So it's just funny that cancer, his research has said that cancer is a fungus.
Yes. I've got the details here. I'm going to come back on that because this is dead important. It was the Dorset biological warfare experiments from 1963 to 75. The document's now been released. It was the Porton Down scientists, a large area of the UK that could be contaminated with as a simulated biological warfare, but they used live agents. And then they sprayed radioactive materials and biological weaponized germs for the first time. And they sprayed them over the working class people. And it said they sprayed zinc, cadmium, sulfate, which causes lung cancer as well. This is all official in the government records. How the hell can they get away with it?
Well, they got away with it because people don't know about it. And this is the whole idea of exposing what they're doing. And then there's probably people who don't live in that area in Devon saying, well, it didn't affect me because I don't live in Devon. Not realising that they could be next on the list.
Yes.
It's amazing how the apathy of the general public, you know. But again, you know, ignorance. They need to be told, and then give them the knowledge and let them choose. Steve has a couple of questions for you there, so we'll go off to Steve with your questions. Steve.
Yes, Steve.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to ask the second question first and the first question second. The kits that you spoke of that helped the person with the coughing and also with the emphysema, is this something that's available to the general public, or is it
Yes,
just...
I do it at virtually cost price. It's £20.
Okay.
It's incredible. I know that activists and people who are ill are virtually skint. They never have the money to get proper treatment. And this is not about making money. This is about putting the power in people's hands to cure themselves. And this certainly has to now. I have not failed in a single case.
I am sure you're going to be inundated with this, Harry. How can people get in contact with you? Because I think the last time we spoke to you, your website was down. Is that back up now?
No, it's not. We've got a secret website because we've got some things going. Well, not a website. We're actually on one of the mainstream community groups, but it's listed as secret. But people can send me an email. You can give that afterwards if you want, or my Facebook details, and they can contact me there. The kit's only small. It involves a piece of equipment which atomizes and sprays a vapor. They breathe that vapor in. It's an 100% safe, organic, 100% natural oil. And the oil is oregano. Specifically, it's worth getting the oregano oil that you want is the Spanish one, which is very, very potent. The others are really excellent as well. Did you realize scientists have admitted there isn't a germ, a virus, or a fungal spore that has any defense against oregano oil?
No, we did not know that. And so if somebody had, I can't remember the name of the machines, I can visualize, but you know the machine, if someone does have breathing problems, a nebulizer. If someone had a nebulizer, would they just get this oregano, or as the Americans say, the oregano oil, and just vaporize it? And if you don't have anything wrong with you, it won't do any harm, will it?
No, it's a great protection, but you've got to do it in the right way. The other technology I'm using is Vortex water. I won't go into too much detail on that, but if you look at Vortex water on YouTube and look at what it is with the hexagon shape, it alters the molecular shape to a hexagon shape. And that makes it fantastically healthy for the body and absorbent. It even changes your blood in 12 minutes. They've done tests on that. These people who are ill, the blood's coagulated, it's all in the wrong place, it's not working right. They give them this Vortex water. I do the Vortexer, by the way, as well. I mean, I do those for just £15, and that's at cost price. So they can Vortex the water. I like to distill the water. The reason I like to distill the water is you're taking the fluoride and all the crap out, and the chemtrail rubbish, for which the water authorities do not have filters to take out. It all remains in there. So it takes all of that out. The distilled water is then pure water. You then add the container that comes with these vaporizers. You fill it halfway and you put 2 to 4 drops of oregano oil in and shake it. And that's what is breathed in when it vaporizes it.
Can I just jump in while we're talking about this before we go to the other questions? I have a family member who suffers from beryllium poisoning. I think beryllium poisoning, I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's a poisoning by the toxic effects of beryllium, or more usually its compounds, chronic beryllium disease, CBD, or berylliosis, usually as a result of long-term exposure to beryllium oxide, usually caused by inhalation. Now, I don't know whether that's a fungus, but if there is a cough to it and it's affecting the member of the family, then obviously your solution might be required.
It could well be, yes, and here's why. These chemicals don't in themselves do damage to the body. What they do, they reduce your immune system so that everything else can come in and not be attacked. Fungal spores and viruses as a typical example. So these destroy part of your immune system, make you weak, so that when something comes along like a fungal spore, it flourishes inside your lungs And by the way, fungal spores like dark, damp places. And that's exactly what you've got inside your lungs.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we've a couple of more questions there. Steve's going to shout out.
Yes. Okay. We still have I have a question from Moon Girl, which I want to ask at the end because obviously everything else is kind of pertaining to what we're talking about now. In relation to buying the kits, the captain on PIR is wondering, as payment, do you accept PayPal as payment?
Yes, I do, yes.
Okay. And John is wondering, is there a link to the Dorset files? And we know you're on your cell phone now at the moment, so your PC is kind of crashed. But I mean, do you have a link, or can it be found on the internet? Or maybe if you don't, if you could get a link and maybe just fire it over to us, and we could just post it out to people during the week.
I can. I printed it out tonight, but some people said because it's gone viral, the link now says it doesn't exist anymore. But I think there are many, many others, because I did find a link and went in, it was open. Okay. I've printed out the sheets here in front of me. But it is it's linked up on somebody's Facebook page as well at the moment. And let me tell you, see if I've got that on the top of this sheet. Let's quite read this here. We've got.
Well, just while you're searching, I mean, obviously anyone. I was going to say anyone who is on Facebook can probably find it anyway. But yeah, if you have a direct link or something, that would be good.
Christopher Everard. Yeah.
Oh, Chris Everard. Yeah.
Yeah, we did ask him to come on the show, but we never got a reply back from Chris.
He put some fantastic stuff on there. These sources are unbelievable.
No, he has great information and great DVDs. Enigma TV, I think, is his channel, and we asked him to come on. So we have to give him. We have to. I am a Facebook friend on Facebook of Chris, but I don't know whether he didn't get the PM or whatever happened. But we would like him to have him come on the show. You know.
He's playing hard to get.
Tell him, say, listen, Harry Rhodes says, you've got to come on, mate, anyway.
Great, okay. I'll give him a nudge and we'll say it again there. Steve.
Okay, I think this could be the final question. We have from Moon Girl on People's Internet Radio. She says, what about the huge crack in Kenya? Is the earth expanding? Is that something you know about, Harry?
Well, it's actually the opposite with the solar minimum. The reason the polar vortex collapses is because Earth's magnetic field is collapsing. And the Earth starts to slow down and shrink, literally. Oh. So some places will sink and some places will open up. For example, when a solar flare happens, it's basically a charge of electricity. That's one of the things that keeps the Earth spinning due to the magnetic field. And Earth's magnetic field expands with the sun's solar flares instantly from millions of miles away. So when the sun goes down on activity and starts tightening itself and there's no solar flares, the Earth shrinks with it. And you know what happens? You start getting volcanoes and more earthquakes. And guess what's happening at the moment? We're having loads of volcanoes kicking in. Yeah. We had an earthquake yesterday that shook the whole planet, by the way. It took 20 minutes for the planet to stop shaking.
Okay. And how come we didn't feel anything?
Well, I suppose on the Richter scale across the planet, I mean, this was out in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
But every single Richter scale picked it up across the United States and around the planet. So we're talking 10,000 kilometers away. Wow. That's the other side of the Earth, virtually. And
I really don't know what the solution is, because this website that I think it's called Universal News Media it's on YouTube, and they are looking at planets around in our universe, in our solar system, which they've all been filtered out, but the weather cams are catching them without the filtering. And it's
I've seen that.
Yeah, and it's quite incredible that they are actually, if they are there and we're not seeing them because of the chemtrails, obviously, that's kind of blocking things out as well. So it just seems
do they have more than one fake sun, you know?
Well, do we? That's the thing. See, what do you believe these days? There's so much going on out there, and there's so much disinformation as well, and there's people doing CGI and all that kind of stuff. So you have to kind of, keep an open mind and just what resonates with you, but do a load of research and see what's being said. Now, the likes of weather conditions and weather patterns. Well, we've seen the snow. Now, some of this snow, again, I did it 1 year. It wasn't this year, but I did it 1 year, a couple of years ago, where I actually got the snow. I've done a YouTube video where I tried to melt it, and it wouldn't melt. You know, it should.
Well, quite often, if you got snow years ago, that wouldn't melt because it acts like it insulates itself.
Yeah.
You can build a house out of snow and it insulates it from the weather. It actually keeps you quite warm. But it's what's left afterwards. I've tried melt snow. It does actually melt in the end, of course. But if you put a cigarette lighter on, they go, oh, you can smell the polyamides and all this in it. Well, that's the lighter fuel. If you put it in a saucepan and boil it and take the fumes off it and you smell that then definitely that's fake snow. I'd like to just come back to another subject just quickly on CERN. I visited CERN and spoke to scientists over there. They've spent billions on CERN, and they had, in front of 500 people, they've got three scientists who were astronauts on the stage inside Tesla's tower building. The main thing for CERN, and they said, "Oh yeah, we've been up and out of space and all this." And so I asked them a question about one of the projects that CERN's done with NASA, which is creating plasma balls and releasing them into space, and they have been doing it. There's videos on it on the NASA website. And I asked the question, and they said, "Oh, we don't know anything about that. We don't know anything about it." These are the scientists at CERN that go up in NASA and don't know anything about it. But there's something not right at CERN. They've spent billions. People were walking out because they were bored. They said, we haven't really found anything, major yet down CERN, but we're still looking. They've had Hadron Colliders for like 30, 40 years, and they've spent billions, and they say they still haven't found anything.
Yeah, but that's like the cancer treatments. They're saying, oh, we're looking for cancer. But they're not going to say they found it, because then all the funding would stop.
Well, absolutely.
So CERN...
there's something else going on.
Yeah.
There's something major going on, and that's affecting the whole of the planet, what they're doing down at CERN.
Yeah. It's okay, we know you're looking for something, but why don't you tell us what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's the other thing. We haven't found anything yet, and we don't know what we're looking for. I mean, try tell that to an investor in a company who's investing in you. He'd shoot you.
Well, this is the thing. If CERN is being invested in by companies, exactly, and I totally agree, the investor would say, well, what am I paying for? So where is all this money coming from to go into CERN to do something that people don't know what they're doing and what they're looking for?
It's a massive whole pit for taking money off you for doing whatever agendas that they are up to. Yeah. CERN has obviously got some form of ulterior motive for what they're doing, and now China's going to build one 3 times bigger than CERN's.
Unbelievable. They're obviously doing something. I mean, I don't know where all this is going to go, because we have, certain guests coming on telling us about things that are happening, and it does kind of sound all doomy and gloomy. Now, there are good positives coming out of certain things as well, and it's like we're on a seesaw, and we have the negative on one side and the positive on the other, and this battle is going on like a game of chess between the good and bad.
There is a major, major judgment on its way. This is one reason people are waking up. The bad's getting worse and the good's getting better.
Yeah.
But it can't keep going on forever like that. It's got to tip one way or the other.
And what do you think this judgment would be in the form
of? Well, humankind has a spirituality as well. You call it karma, call it what you want. Ether is a most unusual subject. And I think we've spoken before about Tesla, who discovered everything he ever did because of ether. And ether works with an intent. It's most unusual subject. If you try and work with ether with bad intent, it'll come back and bite you up the arse. So you work with positive intent, which is your yin and yang, or your good and your bad, your evil versus good. But there's something built in the universe that says, ultimately, evil can't win. Eventually, the good will come out. And call it scriptures, call it judgment day, what you want, but something big is coming, and it'll be decisive. I've even heard yesterday, one of the reasons for CERN is so they can build a frequency around the whole of the planet and move the planet to another place. And you think, how ridiculous that is. CERN is already doing experiments now, this week, of moving matter from one place to another. Doing tests on it. It's back up. By the way, CERN didn't blow up. There was a fake piece of news going around saying massive explosion down under CERN. Kills 3 scientists. And it was fake news.
Fake news. Now, we've heard, I'm just looking at the time, we just have a few minutes left. Now, we've heard that there's even higher ups on the good side who are involved in this transition that's taken place, because they talk about these energies hitting the planet from the central sun and the event. I don't know whether you heard about this on New Earth. Have you heard and come across this?
I've not heard about the New Earth, but I'll tell you what is going on at the moment, and I know this firsthand. We have a team working with etheric translators, which is working on intent. Some absolutely incredible things going on that I won't mention here. But all these people that start to use this equipment, and I'm not sure whether you've had this, they're all getting the universal numbers of 11, 111.
Oh, yes.
33.
Oh, yes. Me and Steve are getting them.
I don't mean once or twice a day. Some people are getting it 20 times a day.
Yeah.
Last night, I went out for a meal with these friends. We were playing videos that had, and this is on the live screen, 33 hits, 111 hits, 33 comments. We go out for a meal. The bill comes to £111.
Yeah. Yeah, well, myself and Steve anyway, for sure, have been getting these numbers. I mean, getting to the stage where we're getting fed up with it.
Right. These numbers are a positive thing. If somebody's tapping you on the shoulder and saying, don't worry, we're coming, we're with you, you're doing the right thing. That's what it means.
Yeah. Plus, we were told that we're actually realising that we were in a loop, and the loop is ending now, it's stopping. You know, because
something is happening. We don't fully understand what it is, but I assure you one day we will.
Yeah. Well, that's
a nice thought.
Well, that's a good thought to end on. Myself and Steve have, on a regular basis, I mean, as I say, to the stage where we're getting fed up with it. I just happened to say last week, during the week, I walked in, I have a dishwasher, and it takes, 2...
He's bragging again.
I've got a dishwasher. I'm rich, I've got a dishwasher. His name is Juan. I'm sorry?
You'll be saying that it even works now.
yeah, it doesn't work. It's just there for show. But on the dishwasher, right, on the spin, which takes about 2.5, 3 hours, right, I happen to walk in at that particular time, and on the dishwasher is 111.
Yeah.
At that particular time. And this is it. I mean, and even Steve, tonight, you happened to look at the clock, and on the clock was
2020.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's right. I go get a bank balance, and it's 111.
Yeah, well, mine's about 0000.
001.
Okay, listen, Harry, that's brilliant information. Thanks for coming on. Again, we're going to do a regular catch-up with you because there's a lot going on. And I think it's very important that we get you on and we get updates on the weather and what's happening and anything else that's going on. Thanks for your suggestion with your idea there about the cough. I'm sure when people will listen to this and they'll be interested, they can contact us rather than you being inundated. It's up to you, but we normally get people to send, if they're interested in anything like that, they can email us and then we can kind of filter things and send it over to you. Or you can give out your details and they can just contact you direct. It's up to you.
Okay. Well, I'll give my email address.
Okay.
I have got a Facebook page as Harry Rhodes with my wife on and myself there. I'm a little child with a wedding dress on. And my wife, that is, not me. Yeah.
Wherever you're Harry, we don't mind.
I'm actually up to 4,890 odd now, and I've got 600 friend requests. So I don't have any more friend requests because if there's somebody I do want to put on, I can't put them on. So yeah, that's my Facebook page. My email address is IPI, Indigo Papa Indigo, that is, and it's H for Harry, Rhodes, Rhodes, as in the island of Rhodes. So it's IPI H Rhodes at hotmail.com.
Brilliant stuff. All right, Harry, stay with us there for a minute. We're going to go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
I will say one thing quickly before you go.
Yeah.
Radio stations is the way to go in the future. I'll tell you for why. There's as much news now in one day that there used to be in 1 year.
Yeah.
So that's why people should keep listening.
Brilliant stuff. Excellent. Good idea. We recommend they do that as well. Cheers, Harry. Okay, stay with us there for a minute, Harry. I'll be back in a minute.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
Okay, we're back. Yeah, great information there from Harry Rhodes. A lot of nice positive comments on the chat rooms there. And ipihrodes@hotmail.com is Harry's email address if you want to fire him off an email. Just keep in mind, though, before the show, Harry did say that he was experiencing technical difficulties with his PC, so we don't know how long it's going to be before he's actually up and running with that again. So ipihrodes@hotmail.com is the email address, but like I say, you may not get a reply straight away, but do keep trying. Okay, he's having a laugh.
Sorry, Laurie did make a comment on PIR, and Laurie, you're bang on, spot on. I did say dishwasher though, yeah, the dishwasher. No, it's not like a spin dryer, like a washing machine where they're coming out knackered. It's actually a dishwasher where they do stay in one place, and the water jets hit them. Yeah. There you go. Sorry about that, Steve. But yes. Interesting information from Harry. What can I say? Look, there's an awful lot in the planet going on. There's so many things going on with weather modification, chemtrails, and everything else. All you can do is just do the research, check it out. If it resonates with you, great. If not, don't worry. On a day-to-day basis, we have to worry about and think about the homeless people. I seen something during the week where a homeless person was actually urinated on, and then he was beaten up by a group of guys during the week. I mean, what kind of society do we need? We don't need people like that and things like that. So maybe if this event or this cleansing is coming or something's coming, maybe that's why it's coming. Maybe it needs to be done. Maybe the reset needs to be done because, I think the people who listen to this show are well awake and aware and know what's going on. It's the people who are not aware, who are in their little microcosm and they're, don't disturb me, I'm okay, watching my EastEnders and everything else. I mean, it's just, they're going to be getting downloads. More and more information is going to be coming out and they're going to be getting downloads and their brains are going to be frazzled because with the people, like myself and Steve and the people listening to this show, you've spent a few years to understand what's happening. And over time, you've done the research and you've checked it out and you've listened to other radio shows and other people speaking. So you've got climatized to this information. But for the people who are not awake, they haven't been climatized. So they're going to get all this information, and everybody will. They'll all get it because it's all coming out. They're going to get it, and they're going to get like downloads of this information, and it's just going to fry their brain. Because they didn't do it over, years of time, to actually study it and to research it and check it out. So it's going to happen, and it's happening now, because all the information's coming out. And, especially to people to say, well, we want disclosure. Well, we've had disclosure. All the files that have been released by, I think, I was talking to Thomas, he said about 33 governments have released information all about disclosure. So does it mean that because it's not on the TV, they're not going to believe it? How many times have we said that, Steve? About if it's not on the box in the corner? Yeah,
I said it last week, didn't I? Yeah, if it's on the TV, no, what is it? If it's true and it's not on TV, no one believes it. If it's true, forget about it. It doesn't matter.
No, if it's on the TV and it's false, they'll believe it.
Yeah.
If it's true and it's not on the TV, they won't believe it.
That's right. And then the one I discovered last week, that even if it's true, and it's on mainstream, some people won't believe it. That was in relation to the cure for cancer with the cannabis oil.
Yeah. So there you go. Some people are just not ready for it and they're not awake. And
they don't want to wake up.
They don't. No, it's the cognitive dissonance. Don't bother me. But here's the thing: if somebody says to you about, oh yeah, that's all conspiracy stuff, it's a good question to ask them and say, well, tell me something. What information do you need? What do you need to wake up? What do you need to convince you of what's going on is really going on and it's not a conspiracy? Tell me what would satisfy your need. And maybe a lot of people will say, well, I don't know. Oh, maybe they'll say, oh, well, it has to be on the news. Right, okay, so you are aware that news reports fake news and they do lie on the news. But if that's what you want, if you feel that it has to be on the news, what about doing your own research and checking it out yourself? Maybe it was on the news, it just wasn't on the news that you were expecting. Maybe it wasn't on RTE, it might have been on in American news, might have been on RT, Russia Today. You know, ignorance is now a choice. All the information that they need is out there. They just have to go and get it, but they're not interested. So it's just the way things are.
Yeah, just very quickly, speaking of RT, it'd be interesting to see, we mentioned a few weeks ago, with the poisoning of the ex-Russian spy, I think his name is Sergei Skripal, and his daughter Yulia, because of the kind of the tic-tac or tit-for-tat, whatever the saying is that's going on now, with all the Russian diplomats being expelled from all different countries, America, the UK, and I think France are following as well. It'll be interesting to see if RT survives, because that was kind of one of the things that was put up on the table when all this kind of kicked off. They were saying that RT was kind of a propaganda station for Russia, and that Ofcom may be terminating their license. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to that free speech.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there seems to be a big clampdown on it, but we just kind of do what we do and, you know, get it out there. As we say, this is show number 400, folks. 400 shows that we have done on OYM, and this year will be our 8th year in July. 8 years of being on the air and doing shows and waking people up. If you can't find the truth within 400 shows, then there's no hope, I don't think. You know, there has to be something in there to interest you. And, well, how long do we go? Do we carry on waking people up or trying to wake people up at OYM? Have we done our work? I don't know. I don't know where we go, but, you know, we'll see what happens anyway. Right, next week we will have Mark Steele on. We did mention it during the show. Mark Steele is an industry insider who knows all about the dangers of 5G and feels that 5G is a weaponized system. We've been getting loads of emails of people saying, well, why don't you talk about 5G? And they're trying to bring it into Dingle as a test site for 5G. And it is very concerning about this technology. So the aim of the game is to get somebody on who is an expert on it. And we believe Mark Steele is. So we'll get Mark on next week and we'll talk to Mark all about 5G. That's the plan of attack there. What are you up to during the week, Steve?
I'm getting goosebumps here at the moment.
Are you?
I am.
Why?
I'll tell you why. This is our 400 show.
Yeah.
Each show is 2 hours long.
Yeah.
That's 800 hours.
Yeah.
Think of what Harry was saying about numbers. If you were to listen to all of our shows back to back, guess how long it would be?
I have no clue.
Remember? Well, think about what Harry just said about the hours. It would be, it would take you 33.3333 days to listen to all our shows back to back.
Don't say that. You're going to get people saying we're part of the bloody Illuminati now. You know, on the Masonic.
I'm just saying, I've just done a quick conversion here on
okay. I'll just show you my nipple and raise up my left foot, my trousers on my left foot. That's what the
do that every
Masonic
week.
Yeah, 333. Oh yeah. That's it.
That's weird.
That's just freaky. That is. Lucky we didn't say that to Harry. 33 days of listening to OYM. God, you'd want to be seriously mental if you want to stay in for 33 days.
Well, if you weren't mental before, you will be afterwards.
Definitely. So what else do you plan during the week? Bank holiday tomorrow.
Bank holiday tomorrow, yeah. So we're going to go home. I'm going to go home, watch a movie, as they say. Do something with the wife and kids, or do something with the wife.
No, the kids. Yeah, that's about it. It gets that tiring. Well, you have an Easter egg to open up and eat anyway, so... You know, you have to nick your kids' Easter eggs.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm sick of it. I was offered Easter eggs during the day. The little ones were kind of eating the eggs, and they were offering me someone. You know, after about the third or fourth little bite, you're kind of sick of it already.
Yeah, I haven't actually touched one. To be honest with you, I haven't touched one. I can't be bothered. Right, okay. We're gonna let you go there. From myself, Alan James, take it easy. Have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. And if you have any news, send it over to us. Not too long, guys. I don't have a lot of time these days. I'm on a private project. And it's keeping me busy, so not too long-winded emails, but links to YouTubes and stuff like that is fine. Just keep us posted. Bye-bye.
And when Alan's finished his project, you can find it on Alan Does Antarctica.
I wish.
Anyway, yeah, okay, we're going to pass the link over to People's Internet Radio. Barry Prince is up next at 9 o'clock. We'll see you all again next week. Thanks very much to everyone who joined in on both of the chat rooms tonight. It's been a pleasure and a privilege just to have you there and share the evening with us. So we'll do it all again in 7 days' time. Take care. Till next week, from myself, Stephen George. Bye-bye.